So let's look at some of the Microsoft resources for creating a good test plan to pilot Office 365. The Microsoft FastTrack website can be found at fasttrack.microsoft.com. It provides planning tools and templates for Office 365 as well as Microsoft Mobility and Security. And there are 3 phases to an Office 365 FastTrack pilot program: Envision, Onboard, and Drive Value. The Envision phase is used to define the vision, set the goals, and identify particular scenarios that you'd want to use to test and gather results from. The output of this phase will be your pilot or project plan. The Onboard phase will be the section where you plan to roll out the software to users. It's also where you decide whether you want to engage Microsoft or a third-party provider such as a Microsoft partner to assist with the pilot, or if you want to do it yourself. If you have more than 50 people in your pilot program, Microsoft has a FastTrack team that can assist you with the onboarding process. The third phase is the Drive Value phase, and this is where you engage with your pilot users regularly. There should be two-way communication between you and the users. You could provide tips and tricks and messaging about timelines and new features being rolled out, and the users can provide feedback on the new software and the onboarding process experience. An effective implementation plan will also include measurable goals so that the success and/or challenges can be tracked. And this is the Drive Value section. And if you have previously been involved with a continual improvement process model, you'll already be familiar with this concept. Now, you don't have to use all of these tools and resources, but you should become familiar with them so that you can judge for yourself which ones are valid for your organization. The Envision phase is broken down into 3 additional sections: define vision, identify scenarios, and create a plan. Each of these sections has documents, templates, and resources to help you get started. One of the goals of this section is to engage executive sponsors, and some of the documents here can be used to help propose Office 365 to management as a potential solution for your organization, so don't be afraid to use them as such. The Identify Scenarios section contains descriptions of many of the Office 365 services and benefits, so you can determine what functionality you want to use as tests for the pilot program. Do you have a need to test Skype for Business or SharePoint Online? What about Yammer? The Create a Plan section helps you create planning documents such as adoption plans and communication plans, and helps you learn how to build a successful champions program. Defining success criteria will be the basis for your test plan. The recommendation here is to use the SMART acronym to picking well-defined success criteria. It should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. When it comes to identifying stakeholders, you should try to assign each of these roles to an individual or group of individuals, even if it means granting someone more than one stakeholder role. These people should be aware of the project as well as the expectations for what they should be doing. If you're familiar with project management concepts, you can use these roles to develop a RACI matrix, or RASIC matrix as I think they call it in the UK, to help identify the responsibilities of each of these roles. RACI stands for Responsible, Accountable, Consulted, and Informed, and for each portion of a project, someone or some stakeholder role is assigned one of those project roles. It's important when going through these documents to understand the difference between business strategy, business scenario, and use case. In short, they get more specific as you drill further down. The business strategy is driven by the goals of the enterprise. And this could be something like, we need to collaborate with our partners in a more efficient manner to produce materials faster. Or, we need a more mobile workforce without sacrificing any security or productivity. A business scenario is usually defined by a party responsible for a particular function, and it describes the desired outcome or goal that's trying to be achieved. In our collaboration example, it could be something like, we need to provide secure file sharing or portal access for external partners. Or, we need to allow for multi-participant screen sharing and video conferencing internally and externally. Use cases are usually defined by or with the help of the IT department with a particular solution in mind. And this could be something like, send external parties secure links to documents using OneDrive for Business. Or, use Skype's HD web conferencing capabilities with internal and external users. So it gets more specific as you go down. Each use case should be in support of a business scenario and specific enough to be measurable in your success criteria. Use the SMART acronym when defining use cases. You could, and most likely should, have multiple use cases in support of a single business scenario. And you can have multiple business scenarios supporting a business strategy. The FastTrack program is generally organized into guides and step-by-step walkthroughs. If, however, you're just looking for a particular document, you can go to the resources page and access them directly. The resources page can be found at fasttrack.microsoft.com/resources. Okay, let's take a look at some of these FastTrack resources. Okay, so we're at the fasttrack.microsoft.com website, and we'll just take a look at some of the resources that are available to us. There's really two different offerings here, Office 365 and the Enterprise Mobile Plus Security. We're going to use the Office 365. We'll start with Overview. Basically, you just see here we have the Envision, the Onboard, the Drive Value, and some advertisements. So let's start off with the Envision. And as you can see, there's the Define Vision, the Identify the Scenarios, and the Create Plan. But we can go to the first one, and it really is the same page with 3 sections. So we've got a Modern Workplace webcast series, and then we've got our Define Vision template and our Identify Key Stakeholders, as well as Engage Executive Sponsors template. Well, let's start with the Define Vision template. And what you'll notice about this is that, well, first of all, it opens up in PowerPoint online, but the order that they appear on the website is not always the order that they appear in the guides. So, for example, most of the resources have this page here where it says, you are here, and it assumes that you're going to work through this chronologically. However, we could see right away that the order and the groupings are a little different in the PowerPoint than they were on the website. For example, the Envision had define a vision, identify business scenarios, and then create a plan, where here it lumps the first 2 together and it puts the third one in its own category. And then here, commit resources and execute an adoption plan is basically the same as onboarding, and then the measure, share success, and iterate would be the same as the drive value. So let's move forward. We're here on the the Define Vision template. And here's some resources, okay? Some checklists, some vision examples. Here's a vision statement, sometimes also referred to as a business strategy. And that's it. I mean, it's colorful, it's big, it's nice to look at. There's not a whole lot of information here, but it's definitely good to use for collateral if you need it. And then some questions to ask yourself in order to help develop a vision. And then at the end here, here's your draft your vision statement here. At the end here, a lot of them have this particular timeline, and this shows basically a example timeline where you roll out and you have your launch day, and this is generally talking about communications with the users. So you would roll out, and then maybe a few days later you have your official launch, and you would start all your communications. And then you can have buzz days. It looks like the buzz days set up maybe every 3 to 4 weeks. And then, those days you would make a big deal. You would release some additional communications. You can even hang out posters and some sort of advertisements around the office to let them know that this is a day that we're going to be discussing or talking about Office 365 rollout, how it's going, and that it kind of gets them excited, and it creates a sort of routine for them. Okay. Then the last few slides are just the same for every particular PowerPoint here. Okay, let's go back and let's look at Executive Sponsorship Template. Now, this is kind of one that will help you to pitch Office 365 as a solution to your owners, or at least that's what it's meant to do. First, the first few slides are really geared towards you, talking about how you can drive success and why you need to engage the executives and some things to keep in mind when you do engage them. And it talks about how it's important to get their buy-in for these projects. You can't really go forward with a project if you don't have buy-in from executive management. And then it talks about some information about the executive sponsor, how to identify them, what the expectations for them would be. And then we get into some customer stories here, which you can use to help present the value proposition of Office 365 to your management. Okay. Last one here, identify key stakeholders. And as you can see, this, at least in this on this slide, is the first one. So this is the these two are sort of, I guess, interchangeable according to Microsoft, or this was initially the one that they wanted, and that's where the PowerPoints are based on, and they changed the website to reflect that defined vision. Maybe should become first, but it's really your choice. And then these are all the different stakeholders: the project manager, the executive sponsor, the business owner, the champions, and so forth. As well as their time commitment. It's good information to have, and it will help you build this project plan without a doubt. If we come over to identify scenarios, there's not a lot here. You can go through the catalog, productivity library. These are, I think, videos. There is one template here, or two templates, that you can use to help identify the scenarios. And I think I pulled I pulled the business use case slide from here. Yeah, so this slide came from this PowerPoint. I put it in my PowerPoint. And here are some examples of business scenarios that you can use. Common challenges. Whenever you list your business scenarios or your use cases, you want to talk about what the challenges you need to overcome are. Okay, let's get out of here and let's go over to create a plan. Here's some success factors for Office 365 engagement. Here's an adoption plan, a communications guide. Let's look at the communications guide here. And this is a Word document, but this is very much standard project management fare. So if you're familiar with it, this is going to look familiar. If you're not familiar with it, these are very valuable tools to help you move ahead with your deployment. And these projects, they require scheduled meetings. So you create the timelines, you create the communication schedule, who's going to be communicating what to whom on what days. You get everyone excited or at least prepared for it. And then defining success criteria. So as you can see now, we're towards the end here in the drive value portion. We have our SMART acronym. We have some sample success criteria to look at. And we've got some dashboard samplers to support capabilities. So this is good to show the support organization. Okay, so that's basically it. We can also check out the what the drive value, the onboard looks like. And if you say you've got 50 plus users, it immediately says, okay, well, you need to contact Microsoft. So not much else going on here, or find a qualified partner. If you say you've got less than 50 people, then it offers you a wizard, a setup guide, and then the wizard. And what the wizard will do is the wizard will walk you through filling out some information about your organizations, and it'll help you start developing some of these documents one by one until you can put together your own plan. And you log in with your credentials, sign in, so it saves all that information, all the answers you created, all the documents that you've used, all the templates, and so forth. And then we've got our drive values. So here's just more templates. Here's a flyer, poster. These are things that you would want to hang up in your office, just as part of the communication plan. Some videos. Here's some training. For measuring, here's measuring success guides, right? So what to measure, how to measure it, and so forth. Then you have your manage, which is information about the service health dashboards, office blog, and the tech community, things that you can do on an ongoing basis. And then you have your office roadmap here, which we spoke about in Objective 1.2. And it's roadmaps here as well. And if we come down to resources, let's say we want to go to Envision resources, we get all the resources, the templates, and the documents laid out for us, and we can just grab whichever one we want without having to browse around and try to find it. Same thing with onboard and drive value. So if we know what we're looking for, we can come straight here to this resources section. Okay, That's basically the FastTrack, and your options are really to use these resources to help generate plans and guides and use the templates as necessary, or engage Microsoft FastTrack team if you have 50 or more people, or engage a qualified Microsoft partner, regardless of the size, to help you develop these tools and set the communication guides, do the rollout, whatever level of service you want. There's a partner who's qualified to help you. So that's Microsoft FastTrack. Next up, we'll explore connected accounts.